Well, hello, I'm Danny, and welcome to episode 240 of Hobby Hotline. Joined today by Mike and Adam. Happy Saturday morning, guys. How you doing?
Good, Danny. Good. Just excited to be here again.
Adam,
Yep.
that music give you a little caffeine, get you pumped up?
It always does.
I love that
Um,
intro.
hello, Justin. Good to see people getting in here early. Collector's Dream. And as always, want to say hi to the folks at the sports card shop. And hopefully we're on the big screen there with Rex and everybody. So shout out to them. Um, got people building up in the comment section already. So we want to talk about definitely some of the breaking news, but let everybody get in here. White Sox, hello. Foul 5, good morning. Adam, what's been your hobby week this week?
Just pretty much just doing content. The Walmart had some weird mix-up with, I guess they listed some Bowman blasters, so I've been kind of following that for like the week, as they listed them for like $40 or $45, and then they dropped the price back down to 35. So it's been kind of a lot of the same, just kind of following the news. Obviously doing the podcast for Hobby News Daily, Morning Minute. Me and Mike do that on a daily basis to plug that show a little bit. Tuesdays and Thursdays is when I do it. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is when Mike does it. But just following the news. We got the NFL draft coming up. A lot of great stuff in the playoffs for football, or for hockey and basketball. Obviously being from the Boston area, Bruins and Celtics have high hopes for them this year. So we're kind of following along as those kind of have been playing out so far.
Mike, White Sox team. So seen the video about the 52 Manals, and it's a great video.
Thank you, White Sox Tom. Yeah, so he's alluding to my Attic Find Friday video from yesterday. It's crazy when you go into your basement and you find 52 Topps Mickey Mantles. I can't imagine being able to do that.
You can see vintage baseball card pack.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Which is kind of, it's interesting because we're talking about, Mike does on Fridays on his show, Attic Finds, and the theory is exactly what it says. But I think people like the story behind it. And I'm going to tie that into where I want to head a little bit real quick on just talking about the hobby in Hollywood, because there are Netflix shows starting with Ken Golden. There's a John Cena show. There is an Adam Sandler movie. There's now a TV show on MLB Network. There's a Bally Sports show. And I was just wondering, for people in the chat room and for you guys, is this all good for the hobby? Is it weird having baseball cards in Hollywood?
Well, it is a little unusual, but I think if you're a collector, you worry that, and I'm a collector, I don't really sell much. You worry that this is going to cause prices to go up again, all the popularity, but I really don't think it's going to have that kind of an impact on the hobby. I think that at this point in the economy, we're not going to see a lot of people enter the hobby. But maybe I'm wrong. But I just think that you'll see people interested in the stories behind, like with John Cena, with the very unusual memorabilia and sports card items. And then the Adam Sandler movie will probably be a lot of fun, like Uncut Gems was.
And I guess that's the question here. 1 Million Cubs Project. Fanatics breaking platform will be a big impact, bringing athletes on channels to break. All part of the Hollywood impact. So, Adam, when they talk about growing the market 10x, is this just part of the overall market, the organic market, not necessarily directly from Fanatics?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think if we're comparing, like, I think I saw someone comparing sort of some of the documentaries to like the Last Dance documentary that came out like right around the pandemic. I don't necessarily think it's going to be like what it like that was realistically. Like I think it'll help. I guess it also does kind of depend on sort of the spectrum of like what these shows are going to be about. Like it looks like, from seeing the Ken Golden documentary, it's not just like a like, hey, I'm Ken Golden documentary. Like it looks like it's out actually like kind of a combination of like, you know, I think there probably will be like, I'd say there's probably, I bet you there's like a half hour or like a half of an episode that's like, here's Ken Golden's story. And then the rest will hopefully kind of be like, here's some of the behind the scenes of the Golden Auctions operations and stuff along those lines. And then I think, you know, with like the Adam Sandler movie, I mean, I don't think that's been created. Like, I think from what I saw, that's being filmed this upcoming summer, which probably means I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of filming at the National. Realistically, like that would make sense if they're saying that they're going to start filming over the summer. Like it would be strange for them to make a movie about the topic and not at least film something at the National. I mean, I think Adam Sandler was at, I think it was like a card show or some sort of show recently where he was spotted. So I don't know if they were filming there or what, but you know, I think it's going to be interesting to see sort of what the subjects of all of these things end up being about. Like, I mean, I guess if you could compare it to maybe like antiques in a way, like I'm sure at some point, like, you know, Pawn Stars and like American Pickers, like that was a concept for a show that at one point wasn't a concept for a show, and now it is. So I don't know if we're getting into that where, you know, there's going to be like an American Pickers of sports cards or something along those lines. So like I said, the Ken Golden documentary or the Ken Golden show, we have more info on it, but the other ones, it's sort of kind of just like, here's a celebrity doing a show, like, you know, and I think we'll see sort of if, I mean, hopefully it's not a circumstance where they decided they wanted to do the show, like sort of during the pandemic and during when everything was kind of exploding. And now they're just like, oh, well, now we have this random subject. You know, I hope that they kind of push the shows and show people that, you know, I guess it maybe depends on what they end up showing in the documentaries. But yeah, I'm excited for kind of, you know, all the content that's going to be coming out.
Yeah, can we highlight two comments real quick? At 11:04, Vintage Baseball Card Packs mentioned chasing cardboard, which I think is a great point.
Yeah.
Adam made a great point about American Pickers. Chasing cardboard gets a lot of comments from people who are not collectors,
right?
But and love the show, and that doesn't mean that they're going to become collectors necessarily, but they love the stories. And so I think that the Golden show, the John Cena show, may get a lot of people who are watching it and are really interested in these stories, but aren't going to join and start collecting and selling cards, just like American Pickers, Storage Wars, whatever all those shows are. And then Orlando, A Collector's Dream, makes the point that it may create more attic finds, which will benefit me too, because these stories come out more as people say, oh, wow, these have some value. I have some of these in my attic.
And Mike, would you say that a lot of it at this point are, like you said, are not necessarily card collectors? These are people that say, I remember there might be something somewhere in the house.
Exactly. Like the one that I posted yesterday on my channel was a guy who's 76 years old, hadn't collected since 1952. And this was in 2018.
He took a break till the pandemic.
Right. Yeah, close to it anyway. And then he pulled out his cards because he saw the value of the Mickey Mantle 1952 and discovered that he had 5 himself.
Yeah. And Dewey Ty Webb does a great job on chasing cardboard. Bench Clear Media family is the best. Ty Wilson does a great job. No argument there. All right. We got almost 30 people in here, and I want to come back to this because there's a lot of tentacles on the Hollywood, but I think we have to talk about Brian Gray putting out some tweets yesterday. Would you say?
Vague tweeting.
Vague tweeting, yes, as Brian can do. He likes to create promotion and excitement, and there's nothing wrong with that when you're selling a product. But he tweets about flying and about maybe life-changing deals.
It's nice to be wanted, he said.
Yes, it's nice to be wanted. Yes, I one day I'll try to figure out what that's like. Adam, what do you think about these tweets? Is he hinting at something you think specific, or just kind of a general idea?
Well, I mean, I think if you look back like the 90s and 2000s, like Panini bought a bunch of like Playoff. They bought I think Contenders was playoff. They bought Donruss, which ended up just becoming part of their brands. Like, I guess, and maybe I'm interested from your guys' perspective. Like, would Leaf be like? Would it just become like? Do you like? I'm sorry, I don't mean to question. And after you just ask me a question, but like, so like Leaf, do you think it'll just become like Donruss, like how Donruss ended up being bought by Panini, and then it just becomes like Panini Leaf will just become like a product within the hobby? I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily what he's talking about, but like it just seems like that has happened in the past where, we had like in the 90s, there were like hundreds of different sports card brands, and some of them got bought, some of them didn't. Some of them turned into Donruss, some of them turned into playoff Contenders, which Contenders is still around today. So I'll be interested to see if that's what's going to happen with like Leaf, or Park City Cards is another sort of example of like a not maybe the same conversation with Leaf, but like they're in the similar conversation, like a card producer that makes cards that some of them aren't licensed. Like I know they do a lot of the women's soccer league in the United States. So, I'll be interested to see if that's what just ends up happening. Like, I don't know, I guess I think we're to the point where like a lot of those 90s companies, they're not really around anymore. So like, I guess it'll be interesting to see like in 10 years from now, if it's like, is Fanatics the only one? Like that's sort of where I kind of, I would like it, but also at the same time I wouldn't, just because Parkside Cards. I'll be interested to just see sort of where these brands end up, I guess, in the grand scheme of things.
I guess to Mike, is it a fait accompli that it's Fanatics, or Panini make more sense, or are they going to finally repair relationships with Upper Deck, which probably won't happen? Where do you see it going?
I could see any of those. I'm not going to make a guess. I just want to point out that on Hobby Think Tank on Thursday, in an episode that John Keating and I filmed on Monday, do we still film? We record on Monday. John Keating speculated that PSA, or Collector's Universe, would buy Leaf. And then this news came out from Brian Gray. And then Sports Card Dad posted a video last night speculating that Collector's Universe would buy them. So if it does happen, I just want to say John Keating had it first on Bench Clear Media. But I think it's pretty clear that something that Leaf is going to get bought. He had several tweets. One of them said something about it's nice to be wanted, which I already mentioned. He said he's close to doing something he never thought he'd do. And then somebody said, take the money. And he said, you know me, I'd like to stick around with whatever happens.
So it sounds like he's opening an OnlyFans account.
Jeez.
Man. That's terrifying. That's
if you reread those tweets, it seems pretty clear.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
I think Adam makes a great point that somebody could buy, like Fanatics could buy Leaf and make a Leaf brand, because I know Leaf has a lot of very, very devoted fans of their products, and they have a lot of really cool designs and products within the brands within Leaf brand. So I can definitely see that.
Adam, with all the Panini departures, do you think this is a quick way maybe for Panini to staff back up a lot of key positions, and maybe it's not the Leaf brand itself, but it's the intellectual, brain power?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes down to like, if Panini thinks that they're going to be bought by Fanatics, how can they up their stock when it comes to like how, like I guess it's kind of all just like up in the air realistically. Like if Panini thinks that Fanatics is going to buy them, like what moves could they make to bolster up sort of their valuation of the company? And I think, buying a company that like like for Leaf, I they don't have any licenses, so it's not like they have, or maybe they have some. I don't off the top of my head, I don't know of any. So it's not their overhead in terms of what they're paying leagues maybe isn't super high, I guess. They do get like autographs, and they do get they've signed like they do influencer cards. So like, maybe that kind of makes me think that like they're going to try going that sort of route. I mean, I don't know if it's Leaf or Panini, but like the famous people, the influencer cards, I think could be, it would be interesting. It'd be an interesting way to try and get more people interested in Fanatic or in Panini or in Leaf. So yeah, I mean, I think it really just kind of depends on what Panini wants, what Panini thinks that's going to happen to them over the next few years. Like, are they going to? Do they think that they want to get bought by Fanatics, or do they think that they want? Are they going to try and be like Upper Deck, I guess, and not get bought?
I just wanted to. There was a good comment. Maybe not everybody's seen the tweets. April 21st, Brian Gray. Thanks for the prayers, guys. Had an amazing meeting. Something I never saw myself doing may just be a reality. It's fun being wanted, and that was after he said big day today. And then more recently, yesterday, sorry for being cryptic, but it's legally necessary. And then just have a great weekend, everyone. Remember that hard work and doing it the right way pays off. So I just wanted to share that for anybody who didn't see what we were talking about.
Vintage card collector with the comment of the day right there.
100%. And vintage, I would love in the comments to hear your theories. I think we can say safely that something's happening. So the question is, if something's happening, what's best for the hobby? Is that the way to phrase it? What is it? Is it for Panini to be stronger to keep a competition with Fanatics? Is it Fanatics to have more diversity and having Brian Gray and more maybe creative promotions and things to work in their products? I guess, Mike, what for the hobby, what would you think would be the best result?
Anti-monopoly, and I don't mean monopoly the product, which I have no interest in either, but it's cool. I think keeping Fanatics away from that monopoly status, which, as you mentioned, would be probably bolstering Panini or Upper Deck, or staying independent on their own.
Yeah. Rex, unfortunately, as a shop owner, most Leaf products are not in high demand here. They also have not been profitable for us. That's interesting. I wonder if Leaf gets more publicity than they do sales. Adam,
it's possible that he's also just trying to drum up interest in Leaf.
Well, he's known to be a marketer. So Adam, I guess from your perspective, what's the best outcome for the hobby? Where do you kind of see Brian Gray? Do you think he stays with whatever company buys Leaf? Is that what they're buying, or your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, he is good at social media. I guess that's one way of looking at it. I don't know if he. I guess it's kind of the conversation of like, is social media is getting a lot of engagements? Does that lead to sales of products? I guess is maybe the kind of thing that I always think about. He and and I think also the interesting thing is he's sort of like, I feel like he is sort of the Michael Rubin of Leaf. Obviously, I mean, I don't think that's necessarily like a hot take or anything, but like I mean, I guess my question is like, if the social media engagement ends up being good for sales, I guess that's kind of my thoughts on it.
No, I think it's definitely to grow it. Michael Rubin has top athletes picking up on FaceTime at the drop of a hat. I think they've got the pull to get top talent without Brian Gray. That's an interesting take. Fanatics probably does not need Brian or the contacts, but that goes back to, does it make more sense for a company like Panini? Panini, if they have a couple years left on their license, it would be an interesting counterpunch to the recruiting, at the Mint for all their staff. I wanted to put this up in there.
This is a great question.
What effect do you think? I'm sorry, Mike. What effect do you think Fanatics or Panini can have on the vintage part of the hobby? What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, so I think that getting more people into collecting modern brings more people into vintage, because when I first got back into the hobby a few years ago and 20 years ago again, both times I saw blasters at Target and I said, "Oh, I haven't done this in a while." And then I started looking at vintage and got back into vintage because it's in my opinion way better, and it's also about nostalgia. So I think that if you bring more people into the hobby with the ultra modern stuff that Fanatics is going to put out, it will bring more people back to vintage.
Adam, what do you think? The impact on vintage?
Yeah, I think the shows probably would have more of an effect on vintage than like anything having to do with like Fanatics or Leaf or Panini or Upper Deck. Like I think Mike, you brought this point up earlier today, is like when those type of shows probably get more people to look into their attics or their old card collections, and they'll find the old cards. And I guess I don't know if maybe that we might see an increase in population of some of the vintage cards, or if it increases the price of some of the raw vintage cards. Like just in general, I think the if the John Cena show is like an American Pickers version of sports cards, like that's where I see it affecting vintage more than if yeah, I think that's probably how I see it affecting vintage more than maybe what Fanatics is doing. And I also think, like Mike was saying too, like you see the blasters, and then maybe that gets you into vintage. Like maybe you buy the blasters, and then you think, oh, like what are some of the cards that are old or from like when I was like a kid or something along those lines. So, but I would say the shows may have more of an, especially with the Golden show, where I'm sure that we saw in the trailer, like they had like the Jackie Robinson jersey, and they had like some older vintage memorabilia. So I guess that's sort of where I think vintage could be affected a little bit more maybe than Fanatics or any of the modern stuff, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to address some comments here. I am drinking legal Coca-Cola. It is, I shouldn't say this, it's the pure cane sugar version. It is my lucky drink when I'm on air, so you will often see me with the Coca-Cola, but no, it is not the original formula, to answer the other question. Okay, so more importantly, I didn't come back to the hobby through Walmart or Target, and I usually walk past the tables that did not have vintage baseball. That's a good question for a lot of people that collected when they were younger. Do they come back in for what they knew when they were younger, or do they come back in to learn what's coming out now? Right. Adam, what would you say about people coming back who collected more in the 50s, 60s, 70s, not 90s collectors? Do you think they're coming back in their comfort zone or learning modern?
No, I don't. I would. Modern is, in my opinion, modern is like so complicated. Like the reason that I like it is because it's complicated, and you kind of have to spend a lot of time like doing research and learning the different sets and the different cards and what's Bowman Chrome, and why did Adley Rutschman win Rookie of the Year, and then he doesn't have a rookie card until the next year. Like learning all of these things is interesting for me. And I forget if Adley Rutschman did win rookie. I think it was Julio Rodriguez, but either way, the point being that like rookies have a great. Wander Franco, maybe another example. He was in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. Doesn't have a rookie card until the next year. Why is that? I think it's much not necessarily easier, but the from the start of the research to understanding sort of the nuances, I think there are a lot less nuances when it comes to vintage, because for 50s, 60s, even 70s, there's maybe only one or two cards. Now, granted, I'm not I guess I'm not a vintage connoisseur, you could say. Like I'm not that's not necessarily my realm, so maybe I could be completely off base here. But like in my opinion, like if you're looking for the Nolan Ryan rookie, or you're looking for any of these rookies, like it just feels like it's more obvious what the card is going to be, where if you were, if you're getting in and Mookie Betts is your favorite player, like it may be a little bit more confusing. Or, I mean, even Mike Trout, maybe it just might be a little bit more confusing for somebody newer versus vintage, I guess.
Rex with a great comment here. Fanatics has the money to be a major factor as a vintage card seller if they choose to be. Mike, what would you think of that if Fanatics start entering the vintage card market either through, I guess it would be vaulting, grading, which would be a conflict of interest to me, or I assume the marketplace is going to be the most obvious. What do you think?
Well, speaking of conflicts of interest, I think that Collectors Universe has already crossed that line with conflicts of interest, and the hobby has accepted it. So I don't think that would be a deal breaker for a lot of people. But I'm curious how. So Rex Gotcher says, and you had the comment up, they have the money to be a major factor as a vintage card seller. I'm trying to picture how that would work, and you talked about vaulting and things like that, but I guess I'm just not quite grasping.
Could it be insert chase cards?
Oh boy, that would be fascinating. So
Wouldn't
you put
that be fantastic?
Yeah, you put like a 56 Mickey Mantle in a pack. That would be pretty amazing, actually, because then you'd get your vintage people potentially buying more ultra modern stuff. It just blew my mind.
That's what we try to do here on Hobby Hotline. No, but in all seriousness, Adam, that's a good question. What can Fanatics actually do? I mean, is it just promotion on the marketplace? Is that, or are we really talking about them printing cards?
Yeah, I think it would be, if they want to have any type of effect on vintage, it would have to be probably producing a show like Chasing Cardboard. It would have to be some sort of show where they're, I guess if somehow they made it, like if it came out on like their YouTube channel, like, I don't know, maybe they buy Chasing Cardboard, or maybe they hire content creators to produce a show that's similar to that. Like, that's where I could see there being an effect for Fanatics on vintage. I think the insert sets, I think, would be a cool idea. I think the way that people might look at it is similar to how people maybe look at the like social media follow back cards that are in Topps Big League, where I think one group of people might really like it, and then one group of people might think it's like the stupidest thing you've ever seen. I think it would be really cool. I'm sort of in the, whenever the conversation happens, if something's good or not, I'm usually in the middle for the most part. Like, I think the social media follow back cards are pretty cool. I also think that, the vintage card in a pack would also be, I think, really cool. It just kind of depends on, how they want to do it. Like, maybe it could be like a ticket thing where they bring tickets into cards or something like that, where they produce some sort of set where they get, I don't know, they buy some sort of vintage ticket and they put it into a card, or they make a card that's a vintage ticket or something along those lines. I mean, I think, in my opinion, it probably comes down to, like, if they want to produce a show that's like Chasing Cardboard or like a show like that, I think that would have probably more of an effect on vintage, just kind of like overall, in my opinion.
Yeah, you highlighted the comment, but Rex says that we're overthinking it. They can buy and sell a ton of cards on their website or live platform. Right. I don't know that makes a whole lot of sense for them business wise, because the margins aren't huge. But
does it start the snowball for other people though?
Yeah, I really like the idea of inserting. It would probably be a redemption. You wouldn't put like a 1952 Topps Mantle into a pack, but a redemption I could see.
Yeah, so Kevin says Topps did a promotion in the early mid-2000s where you could redeem vintage cards via code in the pack, if I remember correctly. If anybody else remembers that, I, off the top of my head, do not remember that. But something like that, because that way you don't have to worry about the size of the card either, giving away which, a pack is the odd size pack. Mike, Fanatics can be to vintage what Zillow was to real estate. Yeah, they can be. And Fanatics already sells single cards on their website. That's a great point. They also, if nobody's seen it, they have their own slabs which is not for grading, just for, I guess, sales and protection. So that's just an interesting side there. A little help here. Collector Stream says Topps did that in the 91 40th anniversary. Inserted vintage cards under $50. Well, a $50 card in 91 was still pretty good hit.
I actually don't remember that somehow. And 91 was like my peak of my childhood collecting years.
Well, you might not have been vintage back then.
Yeah, but they were inserting them in packs.
In fairness, they're almost all ungraded to in good, very good condition or lower, getting better the closer to the current time. Yeah, absolutely. Just getting caught up here. Okay. I wanted to get back to Brian Gray real quick because we've got some more people in here. Brian Gray going to Panini. Let's make that the hypothetical situation. Does Panini then stay in the fight for the long term against Fanatics? And are we looking then at the two major companies with Upper Deck being a distant third, as opposed to maybe some other configuration? I don't know, Adam. What do you think? If Brian Gray takes Leaf to Panini, does that put them anywhere in competition?
I mean, I hope that like if they do something like Brian Gray does, like some sort of like one of the videos where like the college, like when a player's going to college and he like picks up the hat and he like puts it on, he puts on a Fanatics hat and then he just throws it across the room and then he picks up the Panini hat or whatever, or picks up the Panini jersey. I think that would be pretty funny. I think if Brian, I think the move is to help Panini try and sell to Fanatics, in my opinion. Like, I think if Panini signs Brian Gray or signs Leaf, sorry, I guess it's kind of one and the same, but either way, I think that's a way to bring up some sort of bottom line that they have when it comes to like the valuation of their assets. So that way they can sell to Fanatics. Like, I guess, Panini does have a ton of, they have the WWE, they have the UFC. They have,
and that's why I want to ask you. I know a lot of that is stuff you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Are those markets growing enough to keep Panini, you think?
I think, we did see even another move actually that kind of happened recently this past week was Fanatics became the exclusive merchandise seller for WWE at like all their events. So like,
is that just underwear?
yeah, that and then like brass knuckles and stuff like that, like kendo sticks. But like, I mean, I don't know, like Fanatics, they did do that with sort of the NHL jerseys. So like, I don't know, like if these moves I don't know if Fanatics is making moves so that way they can buy these other companies. But in my opinion, they probably are. Like, I think WWE, UFC sort of became a little bit more popular when they started coming out with the Prism products. Like, people, I guess I don't necessarily know how much people were interested in like the WWE products when Topps was making them. Like, it seems like I'm seeing more wrestling collecting going on, maybe. Like, we also saw, the this past week, the one of one, the Rock card that was the most expensive. I think it was $150,000. The one of one Rock from, it was either this year or last year's Prism, which is like him, Rock bottoming Stone Cold Steve Austin, I believe. So, it's a really cool card. I just don't know necessarily where that card fits into the story of wrestling cards, like, 10, 15 years down the road. Like, so I don't know. I mean, I think those are going to be their bread and butter when it comes to the products that they can still produce. So, and then FIFA too, like they have like the FIFA license for soccer. So like the World Cup stuff. But I mean, if that's only every 4 years that they can really come out with that, I guess it'll be kind of interesting. I mean, they have stretched out a little bit. Like they just came out with a Donruss soccer product, or they came out with the checklist. Actually, I think they did come out with the full product. But either way, I think I don't know. I think it's a way to bolster their bottom line and valuation to sell to Fanatics because we also saw the info with Fanatics taking a bunch of Panini employees. I don't know exactly where that's going to kind of come to a halt or whatever, but yeah, that's where I would say, like, if if Panini wants to bring in Leaf, that's sort of why I think that they would do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are, and I like this comment.
Yeah, this is the best comment right here.
Mike, you want to read this one and react to it?
Yeah, so 1 Million Cubs says, hypothetical Panini buying Leaf, the angle would be building up NIL deals. And for those who aren't familiar, NIL is name, image, likeness. So college players, high school players, Bronny James just signed an NIL deal. And this is a great point. This is the future of sports, non-professional sports cards is NIL deals. I just saw in Target the other day, Panini has McDonald's All-American basketball cards with high school players who were stars, I think last year, I guess. And they're expensive. The blaster boxes with 28 cards were, I don't know, $30 maybe each. And so that's 1 Million Cubs project. Great point. And then he also says replacing employees that fled for Fanatics. I disagree with that, actually, because when you lose your biggest moneymakers, which would be basketball, the license to produce basketball and football cards, you're going to want people to leave. You're going to have that employee attrition, so you don't need to pay them severance when you lay them off inevitably. So I'm not convinced that they're going to replace all or even many of those 34 people who left.
If they're buying Leaf, do you think they're absorbing staff, or is it simply the name and Brian Gray?
I think Brian Gray is probably the most important part of that, just for his personality and his brash, abrasive nature. But I do think that there's part of it that is the brands that Brian Gray owns within Leaf.
So is there a Leaf product, Adam, that you ever remember really looking forward to buying, or that you have, that's not just been Brian Gray in the news? Somebody asked me that question.
Well, I mean, I think the one thing that has been kind of cool is he's been coming out with like the influencer cards. Like, I think that is an interesting avenue. Like Tfue, if anybody, this is going to sound pretty nerdy, but like Tfue is one of the influencers. He's like a gamer. He's like one of the biggest kind of names in the space. Like, they're creating kind of a relationship there where potentially they might come out with more gamer, personality cards. So that's something I've been interested in. I mean, there is like another company, I think it's called True Creator, who makes creator cards. So I don't know if there's like a relationship there at any point, but like that's another company that, they've come out with products that also have autographs of like athletes and stuff in them. So it's not like they're just coming out with creator cards, I guess. But like that's kind of an avenue that I've always been interested in. Like, I would wonder, like, if a company could ever come out with like a Twitch or like a YouTube gaming like style product. Like, I don't know how they would do it. It'd probably be pretty complicated with like each creator having to be kind of their own license, I guess. But like if they came out, again, these are names that probably people don't know, but like Ninja, or like if they came out with, other gamers that I can think of off the top of my head in the space, like that would be kind of interesting. So that card specifically, that was an interesting product for me. I think that they came out with a kind of cool soccer set recently. Like, I think it was called like Vivid. It was like a really colorful soccer set that I thought was pretty cool. I mean, not necessarily something that I would buy myself, but like I thought the design was really cool. I think it stood out. But just in general, like, I mean, those are kind of the two off the top of my head that I can think of. But like, sort of to answer your question in long ways, not really, but like those are two products that I know of off the top of my head that have been kind of interesting to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, my short answer is I don't remember ever searching out a Leaf product. But real quick, I want to read this. And then Chris C. writes, we don't need more worthless parallels, but Fanatics wants to 10 times the market. So that's exactly what is happening. Well, Chris, I've been saying for a while, we're not in junk wax, we're in junk parallel. Mike, if you were to buy a card right now, where do you even begin in Modern? Because I know you're not big in Modern. So, like, well, then fill me in. If you're buying Celtics or Patriots or whatever you buy in Maine, what products do you like, and where are you buying them from? A local card shop, online?
So I would go with singles, and I would want like high end. I love Panini's Color Blast cards. I don't know if those are inserts or what set they're part of. I'll just buy the singles of them. Panini has some great high end sets that aren't available for retail. So I buy them on eBay or at my local card shop, which isn't that local because it's a 35-minute drive for me. I don't buy. I have one Leaf card from the current iteration of Leaf, and it was Samuel Munoz number to 10 autograph that I bought for $1 off of Whatnot last year, and it's impossible to say no to a number to 10 prospect autograph for $1. So that's the only Leaf card that I have in my collection. Actually, I do have a Shane McClanahan rookie auto too that I paid like $5 for at the National last year.
Collector's Dream. Leaf does have good vintage patch and auto cards. Well, I guess that's part of it. Or is there design people at Leaf that are adding benefits to other companies? And I think that's part of the human capital, the intelligence, and the history. And so that was my thought there. And I personally think that that Panini makes the most sense for Brian Gray and Leaf, but I don't know that book is written yet, and I think 2023 is going to be full of mergers. Does the 90 Leaf set count?
No.
It's
different iteration of
Leaf set when it came out. So it's yeah, I didn't search that the big time. There you go, Michael. Preach it, Mr. Petty. Love it when real people speak the truth. Happy to have everybody's thoughts. Yes, Panini is notorious for their redemption backups, and I think that was one of the things that was it Michael Rubin or Josh Luber. One of them made clear that they want to clean that up at Topps when they take over there. Have you guys ever dealt with redemptions?
No, I have not.
I hadn't until very recently when I bought 2 blasters at Walmart, and both of them had redemptions in them. It was one blaster and a hobby box, and both of them in 1 week had redemptions in them. So I'm just waiting for the next 17 years to get my autographs back.
Did you sent it in?
Yeah. Well, actually, one of them is a Ryan Mountcastle, and I thought I'll wait and see if he actually plays well this year.
Go Orioles.
He's terrible.
No.
And then I'd sell it. He's the worst. And he hit 6 home runs in the first week, and I thought, all right, this is going to be great. But no, he's terrible. And so I still haven't done anything with it. But the other one's a Ronald Acuna, and so I'm definitely redeeming that one.
I got a redemption for the first time, and I was so scared to deal with the redemption process. I just sold the redemption card.
That's the smartest thing to do with a redemption.
I probably took a hit on it, but I wasn't doing the 1 year wait or the national line. Adam, what have you been PCing recently?
I bought a few of the Call of Duty, again, gaming, but I bought a couple of the Upper Deck just came out with a Call of Duty product with a bunch of the players that play in the professional league. So I bought a couple boxes. I opened one and I saved one. They have the first rookie cards of a lot of the, I guess you could call them athletes. I call them athletes. A lot of the athletes that play in the professional league because they came out with I think they were game dated moments. I think last year for the season, and then these cards are actually supposed to be 2 seasons ago, so they're a little bit behind on coming out with the products. But that's kind of been the one thing. Whenever there's been Call of Duty or gaming cards, that's kind of sort of something that I've been following kind of closely. There was also if you ordered a bunch of cases of Mountain Dew, they came with this was probably in 2021 or 2022. If you ordered a bunch of Game Fuel cases, they sent you a pack with the Call of Duty players in there. So that was another one that I've been kind of keeping my eye on for. But yeah, I mean, the like Call of Duty and like gaming personalities, I think those are kind of some of the cards that I've been looking into more recently, especially with like because the way that Call of Duty works, they have like tournaments. They have tournaments each, like they have 5 tournaments, and they have like one big tournament at the end. And the big tournament at the end of the season is kind of coming up in the next few months. So that's sort of been something I've been keeping my eye on.
Mike, I think you got something back in the mail recently that I'm extremely jealous of. Can I ask you to share that?
Yeah. So Sophia Smith, I'm not a soccer guy at all, but she's a star and she's going
This
to be
is so
huge.
cool.
And so I bought this off of eBay for $2 or $3 back in January. This is her Sports Illustrated for Kids card, which I love Sports Illustrated for Kids. And I mailed it to her in January. Got it back yesterday, autographed. Mailed it to the Thorns, the team she plays for. And so I'm really, really excited about that one. I've been doing a lot of autographs. I'm finding autographs much, much cheaper than they were a year or two ago, as you can imagine. Like this Tom Glavine rookie 88 score. You can see it's got some right next to his head, some looks like paper loss for some reason, but the autograph was $15 for his rookie autograph. So pretty cool. I found this Rafael Devers already authenticated and slabbed first Bowman autograph. I'm a Red Sox guy. I found this shockingly cheap. So that's what I'm doing.
I am getting ready for the World Cup, the Women's World Cup, with all my stuff behind me. I want to react to a couple of people in the comments. Sophia Smith, yeah, she's considered one of the top talents in the world right now, if you're not familiar with her. And then talking about the talent at Leaf, if they go to Panini, there were some comments that I wanted to bring up there. Experience is experience. College is raw potential, and talking about whether or not you hire new staff for your company, cheaper out of college, or is there an advantage to having people with experience coming from another company? Younger people, sometimes fresh ideas, new thoughts. Adam, what would you say if you could save some money on labor and bring in some young talent, or bring over the more veteran people that might, have a vision already in their mind?
I think our industry can be a bit nuanced at times. So like, I feel like, and again, I'm going to sit on the fence here. I think a combination of both is probably what you need to do. Like, because I think you need the new ideas, like from maybe younger people, if that's sort of where the new ideas are coming from. But you also need the experience of people who have kind of been in the market and they've seen the ups and downs of sort of how this market has gone. Because I don't necessarily think one way 100% is going to be better than the other. Because I think sometimes within the hobby, we think that younger people I think each generation, in my opinion, does the hobby differently. So like, and maybe this is, I'm projecting a little bit, but like, I think that we think the hobby needs to be a certain way for kids to enjoy it, when kids actually enjoy it a different way. Like, I think that kids enjoy going to card shows and buying and selling, but like, maybe, I don't necessarily think that's a way that sometimes people who have been in the hobby for a long time really see it, I guess, because I think we all sort of speak on our experiences. So like, if we were a kid, maybe we didn't, and if we didn't do as much buying and selling at shows, then that was our experience, I guess. So like, that's how we think that maybe kids are experiencing the hobby. But like, if you like, from my experience, seeing how kids are doing the hobby, they were buying Patrick Mahomes RPAs and selling them at the National in 2019 when I was there. And it's like, I didn't have any Patrick Mahomes RPAs. Granted, I don't know. That could be their parents' money, but either way, like if they're wheeling and dealing, I don't know. I just think I think it's a combination of bringing the new people in to give the new ideas, but then also at least having some sort of checks and balance when it comes to like the older, more experienced people that have been working in the industry to like I said, checks and balances, I think, is sort of where I say between the two.
Absolutely. Mike, you are an employed human being. Do you prefer to, if somebody comes to your company, that they've come from a similar company, or would you rather have somebody bright who majored in the right area that you could, kind of bring in and shape?
That is a really good question. I think it really depends on what you want them to do, but you definitely want diversity of thought. You want people who have done other things and have done it differently than the way you have done it. So I'm sorry, I'm just distracted by how popular and famous John Keating is. That 70s card show, man.
Oh, it's really an honor to have him in the room.
Right. How much did you pay him to join this?
I couldn't afford it. We were taking up a GoFundMe for it. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I cut myself off, actually.
The younger versus experienced staff.
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, most of my staff at my job is younger, but it's important having a mix. I have older, surprisingly, a couple older people than me on my team, even, it's an important thing, having that balance.
I would say that an experienced person with an open mind and a variety of different experiences to, maybe be a little bit more humble is the best of both worlds, but that's very hard. And the reason I phrased it like that is, what do you think about the people who have been working at a card company under Brian Gray and going to another company? So to get back to Mike, your comment before about would they really fill all the positions, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I would want a whole nother company's thought process brought in my company.
Yeah.
Or Mike, yeah.
Go ahead, Adam.
Well, I also think that we're sort of in a weird space in the industry right now where like there is a lot of mergers and there's a lot of, companies that are coming together and there's companies that are closing. So it's like I guess it's, we have sort of been very siloed when it comes to what collectors enjoy, and then also even companies too. Like each company I feel like fills a void within the hobby, and like I think but sorry, then to get back to that other point, we are seeing these companies come together, so it's not uncommon to see companies merge. So like I just think that we're in a weird era, weird industry arc, I guess if you could say it that way, is like where the companies are going to start coming together. So, we're going to see sort of what exactly happens. And I think the other thing is like, it's not just the companies that are coming together. It's like you guys are saying, it's the people that are coming together too. So like there's people behind all of these companies. So it's like, I just think, I think both of you guys had great points about like what was, what's an ideal employee, I guess. And it is somebody that is, willing to come up with ideas, but maybe isn't, set on having to make sure those ideas come to fruition, I guess. But I just think we're in a strange time in the industry where a lot of things are happening that happened in other industries, but not in ours. So, it's just, it's always, it's going to be weird until, I don't know, it's not, I guess.
1 Million Cups Project, when I was ripping packs as a kid in the late 80s, the first thing I did was look up the prices in Beckett. What a memory I think we all had. Was there ever a time that up arrow or down arrow didn't make your day when that would come out?
Or ruin your day.
Were you guys Beckett price guides, or were you just collecting packs and you found out about prices later?
I don't remember what day the Beckett price guide hit my mailbox, but it was the same day of the week every month, like a Tuesday or Thursday. And I just remember that day was the most exciting day. And I would get off the bus and open my mailbox, and there was my Beckett. And I'd run inside, and I was pretty not popular, as you can probably imagine anyway. So it's not like I was turning away friends saying, no, today's Beckett day. But I'd go upstairs and I'd just look at my cards and see what's my Jose Canseco 86 Donruss worth. Man, it's the best.
We're heading on the home stretch here. One of the comments in the chat right now is about content creators and liking cards versus talking about cards. I think as long as we're good to the hobby and we respect each other, I'm just going to leave it at that. This is my favorite comment. I mowed lawns to buy my first Griffey Jr. and I still own it. It is sentimental. If I can click on the right button here. Adam, do you remember your first card or first memorable card?
Yeah. So, I mean, as a kid, I was picking up like random, like 100, 300 card boxes from like flea markets. So it was just kind of flipping through those. And then like some of the dealers or the one dealer, I guess that he was just selling the boxes. He had like the mystery packs, which it's actually a funny story. So like the 87, I think it was the 87 McGuire. I remember as a kid getting that card out of one of these mystery packs, and the dealer like lost his mind and was like saying how awesome the card was. And thinking back on it, like now knowing the knowledge of the 87 set, like it wasn't as crazy a card. That guy was just being nice to a kid, which was obviously really nice of him. So that's probably one of the first cards that I remember having, like first kind of stories that I remember having as a kid. Getting back into it like in 2018, 2019, it was more or less about pricing of the cards, which, for some people it is, some people it isn't. Like I've always said, there's a billion different ways to be into the industry, and there's a billion different ways to enjoy it. So I don't necessarily think one way or the other is right or wrong. But yeah, so I mean that's my kind of that's my story, I guess, from when I was a kid, like buying sort of the mystery packs that had the 87 or 86. I forget exactly if it was 87 or 86. The McGuire that came in those packs.
That was awesome.
87.
I'm missing the comment. I lost it here on somebody had their first card. Mike, do you remember yours?
I don't remember my first card, but I remember it was I had a ton of 86 Topps cards. I didn't take good care of them in 86. I was 7 years old, and it was in 87 when my dad taught me how to take good care of cards. And so those ones, when I dug my childhood collection out, were in the best condition. The first really big card was that Canseco rookie. I kept my parents bought me a safe to keep the card in. It was in a screw down. I dug that out last year, sent it off to a private signing, got it autographed. So that's pretty special. It's worth $15 now with the autograph on it. So, but I also remember mowing lawns. I was 12 years old in 1991, and I had 6 or 7 lawns in the neighborhood. I'd push my mower over to them, mow them, and then I'd take my money and ride my bike 3 miles with a backpack on my back to Wiggy's Sports Card Shop in the Tontine Mall in Brunswick, Maine. Shout out Wiggy. And I'd buy packs. Loved it.
Yeah, I remember very distinctly my first memorable card. I know I had bought packs earlier, but the 84 Topps Don Mattingly. That card for me as an Oriole fan, I still loved Mattingly. So that for me was very much my first memory. And I'll be proud to brag a little bit. I got it in Cooperstown on my first trip to Cooperstown. So it was a very memorable trip. All right, guys, we're wrapping up here. What's on your hobby agenda this week, Mike?
Hobby agenda, putting out more videos that I'll enjoy putting out, and if people enjoy them too, then I'm thrilled. I don't know what I'm buying this week, except next weekend I'm going to the Shriners Card Show in Wilmington, Mass. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's my first card show outside of Maine, except for the National, that I've been to maybe ever.
Wow. When is that?
That's next Saturday and Sunday. I don't know which day I'm going yet.
Give it a shout out again. Where is it?
Wilmington, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Shriners Auditorium. It's the Rich Altman card show.
We support card shows and want to always like giving the shout out. Adam, what's on your hobby agenda this week?
Yeah, I mean it's mostly content. I mean that's just sort of like that's how I enjoy the hobby, is creating videos on Instagram or YouTube, or got the podcast obviously coming up Tuesdays and Thursdays. Hobby News Daily on Spotify and Apple. So If you enjoyed my commentary here on the show, go make sure you go check it out. If you didn't enjoy my commentary, go check out Mike's show on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're always we got the daily podcast going there, so that's kind of been my main focus over the past couple weeks.
It's been fantastic. We're heading into overtime here, so everybody say goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye. Thanks for great chat room, everybody. Appreciate all your work.